Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Ash Echoes. In today's video, we are going to check out BAILI. So they just introduced BAILI's kit like 59 minutes ago, and we're pretty much going to see what this guy can do. Now, if you guys don't know, we already experienced BAILI's gameplay in the game by going through the event. You were able to use him in the event, and I will say this guy feels pretty good. His ultimate is really nice. The fact that his ultimate can target airborne enemies is very useful. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. So let's put this in full screen. All right. So let's replay this. So for the first part, we have Banish Evil. It says can be used while Rekindled is not active. So this is an active skill. It says casting skills consumes a certain amount of current HP, granting a shield and several stacks of spark. BAILI TUSU and the Dream Incarnate deal fire damage to all enemy ground units in range, breaking, block, gouges. So it's pretty obvious that this active skill is going to be very good for breaking through shields, barriers, and the fact that he's consuming his own HP to grant himself a shield is actually pretty good. So I will say this skill, Banish Evil, going to be pretty good against enemies who are very tanky because of that barrier. And I still have to understand what the Spark and Dream Incarnate means. The fact that we don't really know what that means, we have to wait and see when he gets released. But as of right now, Banish Evil looks pretty good. You guys can see the little gameplay right here. He does like a little dash attack, and then he has like a little clone, a shadow clone. And then, all right, let's let it play. All right. So next thing we have here is Banish Evil Rekindled. So it says this can be used while Rekindled is active. This deals fire damage to all enemy ground units in range, breaking, block, gouges. The skill deals increased damage against enemy units whose HP is low. So this skill is pretty simple. I mean, all it does is target enemies who are on the ground. If there's airborne enemies, he won't be able to do anything against airborne enemies with this active skill. And we also have the breaking block gouge, which is really nice. And he's going to deal damage. He'll increase skill damage based off of how much HP the enemy has. If the enemy's HP is low, he's gonna do a lot more damage with this skill. This is what it looks like. You guys can see the ground enemies right here. And he doesn't really summon a shadow clone, right? You don't see the shadow clone, it's just him. So next thing we have is Gaze Ablaze Decimation. So this is another active skill. It says Decimation Auto Skill. This can be used while Rekindled is inactive. Casting skills consumes a certain amount of current HP, granting a shield and stacks of spark. BAILI TUSU and a Dream Incarnate deal fire damage to all enemy ground units in a cone-shaped area in front, breaking block gouges. Decimation Rekindled Auto Skill. This can be used while Rekindled is active. This deals fire damage to all enemy ground units in a cone-shaped area in front, breaking block gouges. And then the next skill we have is Gaze Ablaze. Can be used while Rekindled is inactive. Commands the Dream Incarnate to rush towards the target location, dealing fire damage equal to all enemy ground units along the path. So I think this right here, like they're pretty much just going over most of the things we've seen so far. So we have Banish Evil Rekindled, and then we also have the Gaze Ablaze Decimation. So I think they're just talking about Decimation, and they're talking about Decimation Rekindled. And then we have the Gaze Ablaze active skill. So we can see this is the gameplay right here. You have the Shadow Clone right there. And the next thing we have is Rekindled Flame. So this is his ultimate. Activating the skill recalls the Dream Incarnate deals fire damage to all enemy units while within a certain radius, gaining additional spark stacks. Then activates Rekindle for several seconds. While the effect lasts, every one stack of spark increases the damage of Decimation Rekindled. When Rekindled ends, loses all spark stacks. Consumes all ignores all DR effects and shields and disables engraving skill effects, reducing HP to a minimum of 1. Spark, each stack increases basic attack and basic damage reduction. The lower the HP, the greater the damage reduction. There's a cap on the stacks. So we can go ahead and see his ultimate animation right here. I will say his ultimate is pretty cool. It's actually insane. Like your entire screen is covered in flames. And you guys can see this is his combat traits right here. I think this is based off of how many copies you have. I don't think so. But You guys can see he is a shield break burst unit. So, after reading his entire kit, we still have to wait to see like his full kit in game, because there are some terms in there that, there's like a hidden definition behind these terms, like spark, all these things. We have to wait in game to see what the spark stacks really are. So I will say the fact that he's able to destroy shields, that's actually pretty good. The fact that he's going to be really good when it comes to dealing with enemies with shields, it's pretty solid. And the Shadow Clone is a really badass. But I will say when it comes to targeting airborne enemies, now the thing is, he can only target airborne enemies when he uses his ultimate. If he doesn't have his ultimate, he can't target airborne enemies. So I will say, like, I'll say 90% of the time, he is focusing on ground enemies. And then once he uses ultimate, he can attack airborne enemies at the same time. So when you're using BAILI, because if you're going to use him in a fire team, it's going to be BAILI, Mo, Freda, and Kairos. Kairos, however you say his name. That's going to be the team. And if you're using Kairos alongside with BAILI, you don't really have any airborne attacking units. BAILI, yeah, he can definitely target airborne enemies, but that's only through his ultimate. So I will say, if you're trying to run BAILI with Roar, that would be a bad option because Roar targets airborne enemies as well. So building a team where you have BAILI as your main DPS unit, and then you have Roar as like your airborne DPS unit, and then you have Frey as your support, and then Mo as your tank unit. That wouldn't be a bad team. That would be a pretty solid fire team. But yeah, man, like overall, this guy looks pretty solid. I think they actually tell us what Spark means. Okay, we actually see it right here. So they're saying Spark, each stack increases basic attack and basic damage reduction. The lower the HP degrade. Yeah, we were able to read that. So I think that's what Spark means. Yeah, that's the Spark stacks. Okay, so they actually tell us what these words mean. So consume, ignores all DR effects and shields and disables engraving skill effects. Okay. Reducing HP to a minimum of 1. Wait, is he reducing his own HP to 1? Because if he's reducing his HP to 1, that's going to give him a huge damage boost. Because he's able to deal damage based off of how much HP he has. Like, the more HP he sacrifices, the more damage he can deal. So, this might be very good if it means that he can reduce it to 1. Maybe. But, yeah, so far, man, he looks pretty cool. Am I going to summon for this character? I don't know. I think I'm going to save up for version 1.2. As of to right now, Scarlet, I still think Scarlet, I mean, I think this is a fact. Scarlet is 100% better than BAILI. And, is BAILI going to be a must-have character? I don't really think so. I don't think BAILI is going to be a must-have unit because Fire Team is really good without him. You can use Kairos, Roar, Mo, and Freda. And I think that's still pretty solid. It's just that BAILI is going to be a better option. Like, if you're going to use Fire Team, you can replace Roar with BAILI. It's just that 90% of the time you're gonna have to wait for BAILI to use his ultimate so that he'll be able to target airborne enemies. So hopefully whenever there's an enemy, like hopefully whenever you're using BAILI, there's not a lot of airborne enemies before he can use his ultimate. Because if there's a lot of airborne enemies before he pops his seed skill, his ultimate, then you're pretty much going to stand there and wait for BAILI to pop ult so that he can go ahead and target airborne enemies. So I will say that is one disadvantage for BAILI, is that you have to rely on his ultimate so he can target airborne enemies. But other than that, his kit seems pretty solid. Shield breaking unit, consumes his HP. He's able to create shields for himself. He seems pretty solid. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are you guys going to summon for BAILI? If not, let me know. Let me know how you guys feel about this character. Me personally, I don't think he's going to be a must-have, but he's actually pretty cool, and his kit isn't bad. It looks pretty solid. So that's pretty much it for the video. Make sure you guys go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.